Hello and welcome to all of you. Welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh and in this video we shall discuss the feature news for today, 27th of January 2022, which is on the electronics industry in India, the manufacturing of electronic components in a country like India. Before we begin this beautiful discussion, let me welcome all the people here. Hi Amlan, Netra, good evening. Hi Hima, Ashish, Kriti, Bhavani, Jyotish, Tiyasha, welcome to all of you. Welcome to all the other people who are watching offline or joining in a short while. Welcome to all of you. Now, we have discussed quite a few articles on semiconductor manufacturing industry, which is very, very popular around the whole world because of its sheer demand and the shortfall of demand because of COVID times. Also because of China, which is one of the important manufacturing bases, has not been able to supply electronic components to around the world. This is a challenge for the whole world. This is also an opportunity for a country like India. This is in regard to the electronics industry, which has had its own plan. In 2019, India unveiled a plan to intensify manufacturing electronics in our country. Right? So right now, the present state of affairs, India is manufacturing $75 billion of electronic products. And it had planned that by the year 2026, it'll have $400 billion of manufacturing product. It has cut down its manufacturing expectations of electronics to $300 billion because of corona pandemic, supply chain issues. But again, $300 is 4 times the current total production, 4 times by the year 2026. This is a major target. And if you see the kind of export India is targeting, right now we are exporting $15 billion and we are targeting to export $120 billion by 2026. This is 8 times rise. So Jyotish, when you asked me what should be the fact or what should be the data that I should collect, this is the data, not the words, not the numbers per se, but yes, 8 times increase in export and 4 times increase in production to $300 billion and 8 times increase in export to $120 billion. This is what you should write as a matter of data of expectations from electronics industry in India, right? To be able to do this, India initiated a 76,000 crore rupees plan, around $11 billion plan, by which it would be subsidizing 2 specific sectors. One was the fab sector, fabrication sectors, and the second one was the panel sector, the LED panel sector. It would subsidize manufacturing of these 2 ingredients in these 2 components to electronics industry. Not only that, India has also planned specific plans to increase the production of certain specific items. This is a part which has been picked up from PIB itself, right? So when you see mobile phone manufacturing and value addition that you yourself are speaking of, the value addition is very less in a country like India. Very true, thank you. But we are planning to increase it to 4 times the present. We are planning to increase the IT hardware manufacturing from $3 billion to $25 billion. Imagine. So the major leaps that we are looking at is the mobile phone industry, IT hardware laptops, semiconductor fab manufacturing, right? So these are the major ways we are looking at increasing production. But there are additional ways to do this. For example, the white good industry, right? The auto manufacturing, auto electronics from $6 billion to $23 billion. We have studied in some of the image of the day, the wearable devices. We don't export that right now, but we are intending to do that. Upcoming technology, we have put that also. LED lighting, telecom equipments, we don't export much, but we are planning to export $11 billion by the year 2026. Electronic components, PCBs, printed circuit board, all of them. So, why is India entering only in these specific sectors right now? And why not in other sectors? What are the challenges in our country? Let us discuss this. All right. So to begin with, I would like to show you the image which we have seen earlier previously, but it is really relevant. Just like cotton industry has its supply chain and so has food processing, so does have a manufacturing of electronics. It begins with the design of the industry, the designing of the particular entity we are going to manufacture. So this is the motherboard or printed circuit board designing which happens on the computer. The second process is the process of designing the motherboard itself, or the motherboard. Why is it called as the motherboard? Because it is the mother of all the boards, right? The mother of the complete processing unit. Now this is the most technical part because this is not only nuanced, This is also highly expensive and mostly automated, right? So this is what is designed in the computers. And then the first layer of it is the layer in which we create the fabrication unit, right? The printed circuit board on which all the parts will be embedded. Now this is one of the industries in itself. These are all industries. This is design industry, a different segment probably being catered by a different country altogether. Then the complete designing of the system, another sector. Then processing or creation of the fab designs, silicon base, another industry. The fourth industry is the designing of the chips or embedding of the chips inside this fabrication unit. This is another unit. And then we have testing of this unit, and after that it is packaged and sold to places where people use them in vehicles, auto industry, white goods, mobile phones, value addition. All those things are done. So these are also allied industries associated. Many Indian engineers are used. They provide services so that we are able to design these products. But the actual manufacturing production base, testing base, this is a very tough job because it takes many automated devices. It takes huge space to establish this industry, and it takes expertise to be able to establish this industry. Worth more than $10 billion, around 70,000-80,000 crore rupees for establishing only one industry. And countries like China, countries like USA have mastery in this. Only lately, Intel has ensured that a very, very big manufacturing base be established in Texas. But these corporates are not investing in a country like India. Now, during these times when there is pandemic, there is a supply chain disruption because some of the components are being provided by a particular country, some part of the work is done by another country, and they're not able to sync their production. The presence of rare earth minerals, for example, silicon, germanium, on which these semiconductor bases are created, they are also short of supply during these times. Labor crisis, energy crisis, presence of the government policies, right? For example, these geopolitics, AUKUS, formation of Quad, this is also China and country like Russia. So because of this, supply chain has gotten disrupted. Global wars, trade wars. Now, this is where the whole supply chain disruption has led to increase in prices or of certain products, or decrease in quality supply of certain products. Auto industry has cut down the electronics that it puts on the dashboard. Imagine that. And it has had to cut down the cost of the vehicle as well. So these are the impacts that it has. Now, India has got certain advantages as of this moment. Why? Because we have a good human resource base. We can start a production linked incentive scheme, PLI, for those sectors in which India can take entry. What is this sector? This is one fab industry, fabrication industry, because this takes relatively less expertise of people to establish. This is one. India can also become a part of the supply chain in the refined goods production, the value added industry. Just as one of you mentioned very, very rightly in the comment section, that the value addition segment of India is hardly few $1 billion out of a global economy of $3 trillion. 3 trillion is the total economy of electronics industry around the whole world. This is the economy of comparable to India's GDP as well. And India has a very, very meager share of around, as I mentioned, just $80 billion of manufacturing out of $3 trillion. $3 trillion would be 3,000. 80 by 3,000. How much would it be? If you create the percentage wise, it would amount to meager 2.3%. 2.3% of India's production amongst the total production of 100, 2.3. But our population is 17 or 18 of the global population, 17%. So this is completely disparate. India can not only sell these products internally, India has a huge base of demand. India can also export these items, right? So we have countries, so India need not be dependent only on China. There are countries like South Korea. We have Japan as a friend. Only 2 days back we covered India-Japan relationship. We have Vietnam, another friend of India. We have Taiwan, which produces best quality semiconductor chipsets in the world. So all these four countries are India's neighbors only, helpful friends also. And these are those countries which are a part of this valuable supply chain, on the basis of which their economy also runs. If India becomes a part of the industry where it tests these semiconductor devices, or where India gets all this designing outsourced or value addition done in the country itself, it will help India get into this important industry. And this is why we started this production linked incentive program. However, we do also face certain challenges in this sector. What are the challenges? Now, traditional challenges for any establishment of a manufacturing base in India are all those same four. If you have studied the basics, they are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Factors of production. Have you studied this? If not, no worries. This is what are the four factors of production. Now, availability of land where this program can begin. What is the land required? See, in Swamitva scheme, let me clear the doubt. Last time we had a question if Swamitva is for rural land or for agricultural land. It is all for rural areas, not only agriculture, rural land, right? Rural landscape, around 70% of India. And if we are able to track what area is fallow or what is area which cannot be utilized well, we have to map and we have to prepare a land bank for it. This is a problem, and this is a solution that I am presenting alongside. Problem is availability of land, functional land, where we can establish this industry, where we have the electricity supply, water supply, roadways, energy presence, right? Safety, security, logistics movement, and better, availability to port services or airlines around. So this is the prime requirement for the land there. Availability of land banks, and availability of this infrastructure. This is not there in our country as of now. We have not had effective, working of land banks. Yes, they're happening right now. The second one is labor. Now, labor, this is not a job of unskilled labor. This requires not even a semi-skilled labor. It requires highly skilled labor, right? And quite often those labor which are white collar labor, not blue collar labor, white collar labor, who are usually working on telephones or laptops, devices, they are high-end technology labors, right? This is what is required. Our economy is right now not thriving in a way that we can produce the high-end labors, and we need empowerment. We need more empowerment. The third one is availability of capital and entrepreneurship, and the fourth one is entrepreneurship. See, availability of capital is there in our country, but since the whole ecosystem does not favor electronics industry, therefore capital injection is not happening in this sector. This is the reason that we see more injection of capital in IT sector, ITES, information technology enabled sectors. So this is where the forward and backward linkages help information technology sector. But is electronics industry not related to IT industry? Yes, it is. It is absolutely, because it provides important feed. No, these are the computers on which IT people will work in our country, or they will export from our country. So this is a part of the backward linkage of IT industry, the electronic industry, but it is a manufacturing industry. It is not a service driven industry. It needs more capital investment. This is where entrepreneurs are not ready to invest. The major stakeholders in capital industry in India, or the stalwarts in these sectors in our country, the Reliance, the Tatas, and the Adanis, they are not investing in electronic sector, right, in our country. Neither are the people from abroad investing. Only government is trying to lure people through PLI schemes. Another issue with PLI schemes here is that it is only a time-driven scheme, limited time-driven scheme. So, for example, incentives for 5 years only. Now, if you provide incentives only for 5 years, tax incentives or reduction in the taxation base. So, if it is only for 5 years, the problem here is that we will only take a few years, 3-4 years, to only tide the Corona crisis. And by the time we tide through Corona crisis, India will meet competition from abroad as well. So we need this extension of these PLI schemes. Government has not provided these assurances, and this is the reason that investing is less. So point being, we need more flexibility for the corporate sector to invest in this sector, and India needs to skill people here, right? And this is how we will be able to achieve the target of $300 billion manufacturing by the year 2026. This is 4 times what we are doing right now, and we want to achieve export of 8 times from what we are doing right now to $120 billion. 8 times is not a tough job. The point is that we all have to do is create an ecosystem in the country within, and we already have friendly relations outside. So we can export these items to the countries outside. Now, one issue here that I see is that of taxation. India has an inverted duty structure. This is where, if in the part of whole supply chain, where very simple example of this, taking back you to the same image, if Taiwan is manufacturing these semiconductors, India is importing them at high cost with taxes, and then India is further subsidizing the electric vehicles. Electric vehicles are utilizing these semiconductors, and we impose decent amount of taxes here on Taiwan, and while we import them, we sell our cars, electric cars, Tata Nexon for 1.5 lakh rupee of subsidy. So this is not done. Firstly, we have to ensure that the taxes, all the level of taxes are less. Why are we increasing taxes on import of these products? So this is one important issue, taxation, especially the import duty structure, high taxation on imports and then lower taxation on the finalized goods. This is ensuring high taxation at import is ensuring that the tax of the end product automatically rises. We have to reverse this. Taxation is another issue. The 4 issues, land, labor, capital and entrepreneurship, are other issues. So you can start spotting those issues that we shared. Don't get into this data, because this 5.5 lakh crore is nothing but around $80 billion, $75-80 billion. This is what has been our manufacturing in the country, right? And it also shares about the kind of Indian economy and the size of the manufacturing industry in India. The challenges, see, the cost disabilities with respect to China and Vietnam. Now, China and Vietnam are able to provide land at economical prices, labor efficient, more availability of resources. The taxation regime is better there, right? Entrepreneurship is better because these countries are also located close by, right? And India is not able to compete with these cheaper products, right? Also, transportation is also less at these places. Expertise are high. So we need to thrust in more money to be able to even become a part of this supply chain. And then we will look at the quality of products. Lack of component ecosystem, right? So we are not a part of that ecosystem altogether right now. Ease of doing business, as I mentioned, all we need is a plug and play infrastructure which has electricity. See, this is the keyword here for you to note down. And plug and play is not only for electronics industry, it is also for food industry, it is also for textile industry, it is also for other processing industries, right? So we need electricity, we need ready-made water, ready available water, transportation, land, we need the roads, connectivity, energy, all of them are required here, so that plug and play infrastructure is available. This is what is required, not available in India as of now. We do not have those free trade agreements. We will do a feature on free trade agreements, how India is trying to boost its exports overall. This is electronics industry. We are talking of exports right now. So we do not have these free trade agreements with many countries, devoid of which India sells at higher cost. Good example of this is Vietnam and Malaysia. They will do trade with each other at lower cost. There will be less import or export cost because they both are members of ASEAN Economic Union, and therefore for India to import is higher cost. See, when Malaysia does trade with Bangladesh, this can be further lesser in cost. Why? Because Bangladesh might have a trade pact with Malaysia. So therefore the costs are less for Bangladesh also to export or import from Malaysia, but it will be higher for India because India does not have these pacts, right? Or even if India has pacts, the costs are not, the taxation are not rationalized right now, right? The PLI conditions that I mentioned, they are just for a few years. It must be extended, be made more flexible. Regulatory uncertainties, these also exist along with PLI conditions. So these are the words that you can use. High import on tariff and electronic components, as I mentioned. What is required is ease of doing business in our country for ensuring economy of scale. All right. Then a couple of things that I want to mention here is about compliances filing. See, if you remember, we just covered the Great Nicobar and a project which was approved, and then EIA had some issues. this is where we are saying that regulatory filings and compliances should get reduced. So we have to maintain a balance. You people keep asking every time, environmental economy balance. Now this is where we demand that there be lesser compliances for establishing of electronics industry. Do remember, electronic industry also goes through a life cycle, and it has got its own issues while we condemn these products, right? So this is another component of the issues that deal with electronics industry. Right now we are only trying to initiate this industry. We are not even looking at the forthcoming e-waste right now. Now another beautiful key for you to understand here is the dormitories that we are talking of, pre-built dormitories. Example is Japan. As I mentioned just Monday or Tuesday's video, we mentioned the example of Japan, India-Japan relationship. What is the reason that Japanese products are higher in cost? We have companies like Honda, we have companies like Sony, and we do have other companies, Japanese companies. One AC building company of Japan is Daikin. All of these are costlier than other companies. This is because they have their own manufacturing in their country, and the products are sent abroad to be assembled. They can also be sent to India so that they get assembled, and these assembly centers will be called as pre-built dormitories. India needs to accelerate this. This is what is called as value addition in manufacturing. Equipments to be bought from Japan but assembled in India at pre-built dormitories. Good keyword for you to use, right? We need to have this plug and play model and pre-built dormitories in our country, right? Note it down. Right? So this is what is required, right? A part of PLI, now these are only hints to what can be done to improve PLI scheme, making it more flexible for operators, right? Ensuring that PLI is not only performance based. See, this is called as production linked incentive. But what if the company takes a while to produce more goods, right? For increasing presence of the production, then only the company will get some relaxation. But if the production does not rise, what happens then? This is where the medium or micro or small industries, MSMEs, they need further assistance and assurances from the government, right? So this is what is required. Along with that, another suggestion is that corporate social responsibility, this is a suggestion, they can be utilized to fund the industry itself. CSR, although CSR fundings go for corporate or social responsibility, but they can be utilized to fund some components of this industry. So these are some inputs, some suggestions. All right. And then better market access through free trade agreements. All right. So this is what we understand about the complete electronics industry in India. What did we cover? Electronics industry. We covered the present level of manufacturing in India and the scope of it that the government MeitY, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, has presented as a vision for 2026. We understood the whole supply chain of how electronics manufacturing takes place and where India can participate, where India has actually invested in the PLI schemes. We understood what are the issues in manufacturing in a country like India. Multiple issues, right? All the factors of production, availability of land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. Other challenges, the international challenge, competitive countries like China and Vietnam, and taxation regime. There are many of them. So 7-8 issues you have spotted right in here with examples or some data. And then we also understood what are the advantages for a country like India. The presence of the valuable human resources, along with the support of coordinations, a supply resilience, a supply chain resilience infrastructure. These are the advantages for a country like India. Present 4-5 advantages, right? Give examples here. And then you can also speak about the commendations or the improvements that can be done over the issues, right? For example, right now we spoke of the plug and play model. Right now we did speak of a model which would support the assembly of the products. We spoke of CSR fundings. We spoke of production linked incentive schemes to become more flexible, right? So these are some hints through which you can also suggest what should be done to increase the manufacturing of electronics in a country like India, right? So once you have a map like this, Jyotish, this is for you. Once you have a map like this, you can embed some data every time you look at some inputs For example, the current affairs, for example, the feature news. If you look at some data, just come back and put the data right here in the whole, spider diagram if you have drawn, or if you have written, in the form of, a page itself, if you've written down your content here, some new data, relevant data, put it down right here. Because for example, this data of growing of export, manufacturing export of electronics by 8 times, this is not going to change for a couple of years at all. The data that we are going to increase our manufacturing by 4 times, electronics industry, this is not going to change. So you should remember these kind of data and try putting in the other valuable content. The 5 valuable content that we always speak of are ADEC, right? So one of them is data, the other one is examples, case studies, keyword, and analysis. So data, you could find quite a bit of data here, right? And a couple of examples of the sectors which we are trying to build. For example, telephony industry, right? Export driven. And we also looked at auto components. We also looked at the manufacturing of semiconductor devices. So these are the examples of those industries, examples from where we will import, or the cases of Taiwan or Vietnam where taxation has been questioned, high taxation. These are the cases, or they can also become examples. Then we have keywords. Keywords are those keywords that you can utilize in issues in manufacturing, or the opportunities for India, or the suggestions that you have. So 5-6 keywords in each of them should be there. Along with that, some analysis, right? Some analysis that will come out of these keywords only. Analysis, if it is straight, it will be as a part of issues only. But if analysis is a little twisted, you should write it separately. Analysis is that, for example, analysis of one of the components that I mentioned here is the relationship that Malaysia shares with Vietnam, or a country like Sri Lanka shares with Malaysia, right? So example here is that these are ASEAN nations, and Sri Lanka has a free trade agreement with Malaysia. So their competitive manufacturing is far efficient than what India has with Malaysia, because India does not have a separate pact with Malaysia for free trade. I hope you got this. So this is the analysis. This is not the keyword, right? Keyword. And if the analysis is straight from the keyword, then you don't have to put it. These are the 5 components under which you should be able to create every article. Even if we look at the article for Padma Awards, right? Try looking at those articles from the perspective, what is the data, what is the example or keyword, and if at all there is an analysis here or not, right? If there is no analysis, no problem. It is a factual content article. Factual content articles are usually less asked in UPSC, but this content can be asked in some other articles. So this data or this example or keyword of Padma article becomes relevant for another article. In any way, these data are directly pointed towards your UPSC examination. The Republic Day parade also was very much an evident example of the same. All right. So what is this? Yes. What is, if you like this video, share some love through likes, comments, and share. If you have some inputs, want to share a feedback, or want some articles to be discussed, please put them down right here in the comment section. Let me see if there are some comments here. All right. Hima, I really appreciate. Hima and Kriti, I really appreciate the way you're putting in some valuable objective points of facts. Very appreciative. All right. Sam would like to have more participation from your end. You're not typing in your inputs. Peace lover, welcome Ashish. Hima, welcome. Amlan, welcome. Bhabani, welcome. Jyotish says, okay sir, I will incorporate in the mind map. Thank you. Electronic infra creation is a part of Digital India too. Yes, Digital India. So Digital India should remind you of 3 things again, like digital infrastructure, digital connectivity is one, then digital awareness and key government initiatives. These are the 3 programs under Digital India campaign. All right. So see, whenever you talk of Digital India, these 3 things should come in mind. Make in India, these 3 things should come in mind. Right. All right. So good night, all of you. Good night, Kriti and Netra. I will see you tomorrow evening for the discussion on current affairs for tomorrow. Kanupriya, good night. Welcome. See you tomorrow.